What makes an idea dangerous? It's not a weapon. It can't physically harm you. Yet, throughout history, humans have feared ideas more than swords or plagues. Rulers, priests, and entire societies have spent enormous energy trying to contain them. They've built walls, not of stone, but of silence and censorship. They've burned books, not just to destroy paper and ink, but to extinguish the thoughts printed on them. This fear is rooted in a simple truth. The world we live in, the societies we build, the laws we obey, all of these are built on shared stories. They're constructed from collective myths about gods, money, nations, and human rights. A single powerful idea can unravel these stories. It can act like a tiny crack in a great dam. At first it seems insignificant, but the water of doubt begins to leak through. Soon, the crack widens. The leak becomes a torrent. And eventually, the entire structure of belief that holds a society together can collapse. This is why some ideas are deemed forbidden. They challenge the foundational myths. They question the authority of the powerful. They suggest that the way things are is not the only way things could be. For those who benefit from the existing order, such an idea is not just a curiosity. It's an existential threat. Consider the power structures that govern our lives. We accept that some people have the right to rule, to collect taxes, and to send soldiers to war. We accept that a piece of paper with certain markings on it has value. We believe in nations, corporations, and legal systems. These are all fictions, imagined realities that we've collectively agreed to believe in. They work only as long as everyone, or at least a critical mass of people, continues to believe in them. A forbidden idea is one that whispers, "What if this is not true? What if the emperor has no clothes?" This question, once asked, is very difficult to unask. This fear isn't just a relic of the past. It's a fundamental part of the human condition. We are storytelling animals, and our cooperation depends on these shared narratives. When a new story emerges that contradicts the old one, conflict is almost inevitable. The guardians of the old story, the priests, the kings, the politicians, the CEOs, will naturally try to suppress the new one. They're not necessarily evil. From their perspective, they're protecting society from chaos. They're preserving the order that gives life meaning and structure. But in doing so, they stand in the way of change, progress, and sometimes a more accurate understanding of reality itself. Throughout human history, knowledge has rarely been free. Access to information was often a privilege, guarded jealously by a select few. In ancient Egypt, the ability to read and write hieroglyphs was limited to scribes and priests. This gave them immense power. They controlled the records, interpreted the will of the gods, and managed the state's bureaucracy. For the average farmer, the world of letters was a locked room. Knowledge wasn't something to be shared with everyone. It was a tool to maintain the social hierarchy. The powerful understood that if everyone could read the laws, question the religious texts, and record their own histories, the established order would be threatened. This pattern repeats across cultures and eras. Banning knowledge is a way to control the present by controlling the past and the future. When a ruler or a regime forbids certain books or ideas, they're trying to shape a specific narrative. They want to create a version of reality that serves their interests. By eliminating competing viewpoints, they can present their own story as the only possible truth. This is why conquerors so often burn the libraries of the conquered. They're not just destroying buildings, they're erasing a people's memory, their identity, and their alternative ways of seeing the world. To control what people know is to control how they think. The reasons for banning knowledge are often framed in noble terms. The censors will say they're protecting public morality, safeguarding national security, or preserving religious purity. And, perhaps some of them even believe it. The Spanish Inquisition claimed it was saving souls from heresy by banning and burning books. 20th century totalitarian regimes claimed they were protecting the state from subversive ideas. The justification is always the protection of the collective from some form of corruption. But more often than not, this is a convenient excuse. The real motive is the preservation of power. The corruption they fear is the loss of their own authority. Knowledge is power. This is not just a cliché, it's a political reality. When the printing press was invented in the 15th century, it created a crisis for the old elites. Suddenly, information could be copied and spread with unprecedented speed. It was no longer possible for a small group of scribes to control the flow of ideas. The Protestant Reformation, fueled by printed pamphlets and Bibles in local languages, was a direct consequence of this technological shift. The authorities of the Catholic Church reacted by creating lists of forbidden books. They understood that if they couldn't control the technology, they had to try to control the content. This struggle between the spread of information and the attempt to contain it has defined the modern age. In the early 17th century, an Italian astronomer named Galileo Galilei did something revolutionary. He pointed a new invention, the telescope, towards the heavens. What he saw shattered a worldview that had stood for over 1,000 years. The official story, sanctioned by the Church and based on the ancient wisdom of Aristotle and Ptolemy, was that the Earth was the stationary center of the universe. The sun, moon, planets, and stars all revolved around us in perfect, crystalline spheres. This wasn't just a scientific model, it was a theological one. It placed humanity at the center of God's creation, reinforcing our special place in the cosmos. Galileo's observations directly contradicted this comforting story. He saw mountains on the moon, proving it was not a perfect ethereal sphere. He discovered 4 moons orbiting Jupiter, which showed that not everything in the heavens revolved around the Earth. He observed the phases of Venus, which only made sense if Venus orbited the Sun, not the Earth. The evidence was overwhelming. The old story was wrong. The Earth was just another planet, hurtling through space, circling a star. This was a profoundly disturbing idea. It demoted humanity from the center of the stage to a minor role in a vast, cosmic drama. The Catholic Church could not allow such a dangerous idea to spread. It struck at the very heart of their authority. If the Church was wrong about the heavens, what else might it be wrong about? In 1616, the Church officially declared the idea that the Earth moves to be foolish and absurd in philosophy, and formally heretical. They banned books that promoted this view, including those of Copernicus, who had proposed the sun-centered model decades earlier. Galileo himself was warned to abandon the idea. He was silenced, but the evidence did not go away. The truth of the cosmos did not change just because a committee declared it to be heresy. Years later, Galileo published a book, Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems, which cleverly argued for the sun-centered model. This was a direct challenge to the ban. The Inquisition summoned him to Rome. Under threat of torture, the elderly astronomer was forced to recant. He was made to kneel and publicly deny the truth he had discovered. He spent the rest of his life under house arrest. The authorities had won, or so they thought. They had successfully suppressed the man, but they could not suppress the idea. Galileo's work was smuggled out of Italy and published abroad. The knowledge spread. Eventually, even the Church had to concede. The Earth does, in fact, move. 2 centuries after Galileo, another scientist published a book that would shake the foundations of our world. In 1859, Charles Darwin released On the Origin of Species. Its central idea was evolution by natural selection. This theory proposed that all life on Earth, including humanity, was the product of a long, unguided process of descent with modification. Species were not created in their final form by a divine hand. Instead, they evolved over millions of years through a brutal struggle for existence. This was, in many ways, an even more dangerous idea than Galileo's. Galileo had moved the Earth from the center of the universe. Darwin threatened to remove God from the story of life altogether. The idea of evolution challenged the sacred story told by many religions, that humans are a special creation, made in the image of God, fundamentally separate from and superior to all other animals. Darwin's theory placed us firmly within the animal kingdom. It suggested we share a common ancestor with apes, monkeys, and all other living things. We were not fallen angels. We were risen apes. For many, this was an unbearable thought. It stripped humanity of its privileged status. It replaced a story of divine purpose with a story of random mutation and environmental pressure. It was a direct assault on the belief in human exceptionalism. The backlash was immediate and fierce. The book was condemned from pulpits and in the press. Darwin was depicted in cartoons as a monkey. Religious leaders and even some scientists attacked his theory as a dangerous speculation that undermined morality, faith, and the social order. If we are just animals, they argued, what stops us from behaving like them? What is the basis for law, for kindness, for civilization itself? The fear was that Darwin's idea would unleash a tidal wave of nihilism and chaos. They sought to ban the teaching of evolution from schools, to keep this forbidden knowledge away from the minds of children. This battle continues to this day. In some parts of the world, including areas of the United States, there are still organized efforts to prevent or undermine the teaching of evolution in public schools. The Scopes monkey trial of 1925, where a teacher was prosecuted for teaching evolution, was not the end of the story, but just one chapter in a long struggle. This shows how deeply a forbidden idea can threaten our core identity. The theory of evolution is now the bedrock of modern biology. It has led to countless discoveries in medicine and genetics. Yet, for some, the story it tells about who we are is so unsettling that they would rather deny the overwhelming evidence than accept its conclusions. For nearly 400 years, the Catholic Church maintained an official list of dangerous ideas. It was called the Index Librorum Prohibitorum, or the Index of Forbidden Books. First published in 1559 and only abolished in 1966, this list was honestly one of the most systematic and long-lasting attempts at censorship in human history. The Index was a direct response to the challenge of the printing press and the Protestant Reformation. It was, a tool to protect the faithful from what the Church considered to be heretical, immoral, or scientifically incorrect texts. To read, possess, or distribute a book on the Index without permission was to risk excommunication. The Index was a who's who of intellectual history. It contained the works of some of the greatest minds the world has ever known. The scientific writings of Copernicus and Galileo were on the list. The philosophical works of René Descartes, John Locke, and Immanuel Kant were forbidden. The passionate novels of Victor Hugo and the political theories of Jean-Jacques Rousseau were deemed too dangerous for Catholics to read. The list was a testament to the power of the written word. The Church believed that these books contained ideas so potent that they could lead souls astray, undermine faith, and destabilize society. The very existence of the Index reveals the logic of the censor. It assumes that ordinary people cannot be trusted to think for themselves. It presumes that a central authority knows best what is true, what is good, and what is safe. The guardians of orthodoxy believe they must act as shepherds, protecting their flock from poisonous intellectual pastures. They create a walled garden of approved knowledge, where everything is, safe, orderly, and in line with the official doctrine. But a walled garden, no matter how pleasant, is also a prison. It prevents exploration, discovery, and the messy, unpredictable process of finding truth for oneself. What was the ultimate effect of the Index? In some places, particularly where the Church's power was strongest, it did suppress the circulation of these books and ideas for a time. But in the long run, it failed. In fact, it may have even backfired. For many, being placed on the Index was a badge of honor. It signaled that a book was important, challenging, and worth reading. The forbidden nature of the texts made them more alluring. The Index became a catalogue of dissent, a guide for anyone who wanted to explore the frontiers of human thought. It stands today as a monumental reminder that you cannot kill an idea by banning a book. You can only make people more curious about what you are trying to hide. When we look at the stories of Galileo, Darwin, and the thousands of books on the Index, a clear pattern emerges. The suppression of knowledge is not a random act. It follows a predictable script that repeats throughout history, right up to the present day. The first step is always the identification of a threat. A new idea emerges that challenges the established narrative. This idea could be scientific, political, religious, or artistic. Honestly, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it questions the authority of the current power structure, whether that power is held by priests, kings, a political party, or a corporate elite. The second step is the justification for suppression. The censors rarely admit that they are trying to protect their own power. Instead, they frame their actions as a defense of the common good. They claim the forbidden idea is a threat to public order, a danger to national security, a corruption of morality, or an offense against God. They portray themselves as protectors of the innocent and guardians of tradition. This allows them to demonize not only the idea itself, but also the people who promote it. The holder of the forbidden idea is branded as a heretic, a traitor, a degenerate, or an enemy of the people. The third step is the act of suppression itself. This can take many forms. The most direct method is to attack the source. This is what happened to Galileo, who was put under house arrest, and to countless others who were imprisoned, exiled, or executed for their thoughts. Another method is to attack the medium. This involves banning and burning books, shutting down printing presses, or in the modern age, blocking websites and deplatforming speakers. The goal is to stop the idea from spreading, to cut it off from the public mind. This often involves creating a climate of fear, where people are afraid to even discuss the forbidden topic. The final step in this recurring drama is, almost always, failure. In the long term, suppression does not work. You can imprison a person, but you cannot imprison their ideas, especially in an interconnected world. You can burn a book, but you cannot burn every copy. And the very act of banning something often makes it more attractive. Psychologists call this the Streisand effect. When you try to hide something, you inadvertently draw more attention to it. The forbidden knowledge leaks out. It is shared in secret, smuggled across borders, and passed down to the next generation. Eventually, the dam of censorship breaks, and the idea flows freely. The suppressors are then remembered by history not as protectors, but as obstacles to truth. You might think that in our modern, enlightened age of 2026, the era of forbidden knowledge is over. We have the internet, a global network designed to share information freely. We have more access to knowledge than any previous generation in history. The old methods of censorship, like burning books or controlling printing presses, seem archaic and ineffective. But the pattern of suppression has not disappeared. It has simply evolved. It has adapted to the new digital landscape. The desire to control information is as strong as ever, and the tools for doing so are becoming frighteningly sophisticated. Today, censorship is often less visible. It is not always a government agent knocking on your door. It can be an algorithm. Social media platforms and search engines have become the new gatekeepers of information. They decide what you see and what you do not see. Through complex and opaque algorithms, they can promote certain viewpoints and suppress others. A video can be demonetized, a post can be shadow banned, or a search result can be pushed down to the 10th page where no one will ever see it. This is not the public book burning of the past. It's a quiet, subtle, and often automated form of silencing. Furthermore, we are living in an age of unprecedented surveillance. Governments and corporations collect vast amounts of data on our online activities, our communications, and even our physical movements. This creates a chilling effect. When people know they are being watched, they are less likely to explore controversial or unpopular ideas. They self-censor. They avoid clicking on certain links or discussing certain topics, for fear that it might be recorded and used against them. This creates a digital panopticon, a prison in which the inmates police themselves. The walls are invisible, but they are just as effective at containing thought as the stone walls of Galileo's confinement. The battle over forbidden knowledge today is fought on new fronts. It is fought over issues like climate change science, which threatens powerful economic interests. It is fought over historical narratives that challenge national myths. It is fought over medical information that goes against official public health guidelines. In each case, the pattern is the same. An idea is labeled as misinformation or disinformation. Those who promote it are deplatformed, ridiculed, or accused of causing harm. The justification is, as always, the protection of the public. But the effect is to narrow the scope of acceptable debate and to enforce a single authorized version of the truth. The methods are new, but the impulse is as old as humanity itself. Why do forbidden ideas ultimately triumph? Why do the censors always lose in the end? It is because reality has a way of asserting itself. You can declare that the Earth is the center of the universe, but ship's captains, using astronomical navigation, will still need accurate charts based on the sun-centered model to find their way. You can insist that all species were created separately, but biologists will still find the evidence of common ancestry written in the DNA of every living cell. A story that contradicts the evidence can only be maintained for so long. Eventually, the pressure of reality becomes too great, and the old story crumbles. Forbidden ideas also have a unique power because they often carry a liberating message. They offer a new way of seeing the world, a new possibility for human life. The idea that all people are created equal, a dangerously radical thought in the 18th century, inspired revolutions that toppled monarchies. The idea that women should have the right to vote, once considered absurd and unnatural, transformed societies around the globe. These ideas spread not just because they were intellectually compelling, but because they offered hope, dignity, and freedom to those who were oppressed by the old order. People are willing to risk a great deal for an idea that promises a better world. The very act of suppression gives a forbidden idea a special kind of energy. It marks it as important. It tells the world that the powerful are afraid of this thought. This creates a mystique, an allure that can be more powerful than any marketing campaign. People instinctively understand that if someone is trying this hard to silence a voice, then that voice must be saying something significant. The censor's stamp of disapproval becomes a mark of authenticity. It signals to the curious, the rebellious, and the free-thinking that this is something they need to investigate for themselves. Suppression is the fertilizer for dissent. This is the great paradox of forbidden knowledge. The more you try to contain it, the more powerful it becomes. Ideas are not like physical objects. They can be copied infinitely at almost no cost. They can cross borders in an instant. They can hide in the minds of people, waiting for the right moment to emerge. You can kill a messenger, but another will always rise to take their place, as long as the idea itself resonates with human experience and aspiration. History is a long story of the powerful underestimating the power of a single, dangerous, and ultimately liberating idea. The world we live in today was built by the heretics of yesterday. We have journeyed through history and seen the recurring struggle between knowledge and suppression. We have seen how the powerful fear ideas that challenge their authority and how they try to build walls to contain them. We have also seen how those walls inevitably fall. From the astronomical discoveries of Galileo to the biological insights of Darwin, from the philosophical arguments of Kant to the political manifestos that sparked revolutions, dangerous ideas have been the engine of human progress. They force us to question our assumptions, to reconsider our beliefs, and to imagine new ways of living. The world changes when someone dares to think a forbidden thought. This story is not over. The struggle continues today, in new forms and on new platforms. We are all participants in it, whether we realize it or not. Every time you choose what to read, what to watch, and what to share, you are making a decision in this ancient conflict. Do you stay within the walled garden of safe, approved opinions? Or do you venture out into the wilderness of forbidden knowledge? Do you accept the official narrative without question? Or do you seek out the dissenting voices, the heretics of our own time, who are challenging the orthodoxies of today? The responsibility to seek knowledge is greater now than ever before. Do not allow algorithms or authorities to be your sole gatekeepers to reality. Be curious, be skeptical, be brave. Read the books that have been banned. Study the ideas that have been condemned. Listen to the voices that have been silenced. You may not agree with everything you find. In fact, you shouldn't. The goal is not to trade one dogma for another. The goal is to learn to think for yourself. The goal is to understand the world in all its complexity, not just the sanitized version that is presented to you. This is your invitation to explore the forbidden library for yourself. Seek out the Index Librorum Prohibitorum online and see what the Church feared. Read Darwin's On the Origin of Species and Galileo's dialogue concerning the two chief world systems. Explore the works of philosophers and political thinkers who were deemed too radical for their time. These texts are more accessible today than ever before, often available for free in digital archives. By engaging with these powerful and dangerous ideas, you are not just learning about history, you are participating in it. You are claiming your right to know and your freedom to think.